right, so we have the NFL Week 17 Players of the Week. I've been waiting for this one, Nate. This will be the last Players of the Week for the regular season.
Huh?
Season moved by fast, Nate. It went
Yeah, and
by
then we got
early.
players of the year soon.
All right, Nate. So, what, you ready to start?
I'm ready to start.
Okay, so AFC Offensive Player of the Week goes to, you already know who, Derrick Henry. I'm sorry, but there was no other person in the offense this year who has made a bigger jump than him or this season. Derrick Henry had 34 rushes, 250 yards. He averaged 7 yards per carry and had 2 TDs. And then NFC Offensive Player of the Week is a guy I'm very familiar with. I had him as a winner this week. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins went 28 for 40. He completed 70% of his passes, had a 127.6 passer rating, and he had 405 yards with 3 touchdowns. So, Nate, let's start with offense. Your thoughts on the Offensive Players of the Week?
I ain't got a problem with this, man. I mean, Derrick Henry obviously doing his thing. Kirk Cousins, like I said on Monday with your winner, Kirk Cousins said what we all say: finish strong, and he finished strong. And like I said, my thing with Kirk Cousins is he, like you said, he stepped it up at the end of the year, and you're absolutely right. But if this team has high expectations next year, you got him, you got Kirk Cousins leading the way with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook too. You got to keep that consistency. You know what I mean? And for Kirk Cousins to show that he can be this quarterback, he deserves the award. So I think Kirk Cousins needs to work on keeping that consistency. And this is not a bad start. He ended the season on a high note, which is great. As for Derrick Henry, you know what I gotta say. Dude's a beast. I don't gotta say anything else about Derrick Henry.
Absolutely. When you look at the 2 Offensive Players of the Week, the difference between Derrick Henry and Kirk Cousins is Derrick Henry, especially towards the later end of the season, always seems to have a certain type of consistency with him. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing that you could say about Derrick Henry is he is a reason why they win. He will do anything and anything possible as a running back to win. Derrick Henry is a type of running back that can get a lot more yards than a lot of quarterbacks in the league in that week. Difference between him now, Kirk Cousins, he could throw 3 TDs and 300 yards a game, but you won't necessarily be he won't necessarily what you call get the win. They won't necessarily get the win if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
Because with Kirk Cousins, there's always like 1 or 2 plays that could have went the other way in which the game would have turned around. With Derrick Henry, most of the time when he runs with that football, he makes sure that if I'm gonna have a 200-yard game, we're gonna win this game. So with that being said, I completely agree with the Players of the Week for offense. Now, Nate, let's move on to defense. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So NFC Defensive Player of the Week goes to Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams had 7 tackles, 3 sacks, and a pass defended. And AFC Defensive Player of the Week goes to Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts. He had 10 tackles, 1 sack, 2 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. So I'll start off with you, Nate. What you think about the Defensive Players of the Week?
I don't got no problems with it. I can't really think of any defensive players off the top of my mind that played better. I'll say this though about the AFC player. I already forgot his name.
Darius Leonard.
10 tackles is really good. He had a forced fumble, I believe, 2 pass defended, but 1 sack kind of isn't really all that impressive. But 10 tackles is good enough in my book. 2 passes defended, again, same thing. It's good in my book.
Right.
I mean, I don't got a problem with it overall. I really don't.
Right. I mean, Darius Leonard has always been known to be a tackler, especially when he first entered the league as a rookie. He was always a tackler. Like that was always his thing. I think he led the league. I might be wrong. Somebody correct me in the comments if I am. I think he led the league in tackles in his rookie year, which is something incredible for a rookie to do. I mean, or I know for a fact he led his team, but he was definitely one of the biggest tacklers in the NFL within his rookie year. And Darius Leonard is obviously a very big key piece to the reason why the Colts are so good. I think he's a very underrated player. You know what I'm saying? I put him in that topic with like Levante David and Devin White. I put him with all those other linebackers who are very underrated. And I definitely believe that Darius Leonard is a very underrated defensive player. However, Leonard Williams, for him to have 7 tackles, 3 sacks, and a pass defended, that just shows you how much of a home wrecker he was against the Dallas Cowboys. Right. It just shows you how big of an impact he had, especially in a close game like that. Leonard's 3 sacks really helped. His 7 tackles really helped. And his pass defended really helped. So Leonard Williams, I want to call him the home wrecker in that this week because he really went up against the Cowboys and wrecked them as a defensive wrecking ball. So anyway, with that being said, last but not least, the special teamers. So NFC Special Teamer of the Week goes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicker Ryan Succop. Ryan Succop went 5 for 5 on his extra points. He went 3 for 3 for field goals and had a total of 15 points. And Maxx Crosby was the AFC Special Team Players of the Week. Excuse me for saying defense, but the reason why is because he's a defensive end and he was Special Team Player of the Week. The reason why he had 2 blocked field goals. So Nate, your thoughts on the Special Teamers of the Week?
2 blocked field goals, man. Listen, it's rare to see 1 blocked field goal in one game, but to have 2 of them, that's even more rare. Like you don't see blocked field goals all that often in football. As for the Buccaneers kicker, again, I forgot his name.
Ryan Succop.
Ryan Succop. He went perfect. 5 for 5 extra points. All 3 of his field goals. I mean, he was perfect. There's really nothing else I can say about that. And going into the postseason, that's what you got to be. You got to be consistent. You got to have that mentality of, oh, I got to play good. You're in the playoffs. You have a goal to reach the Super Bowl, and that's good to have. So I haven't got a problem with this list.
Nah, me neither. I mean, first of all, I look at Ryan Succop, and I mean, to hit 15 points in that game, that was really a big key factor right there. See, kickers sometimes can be the most important person on that field. You know what I'm saying? We underestimate kickers, and we don't look at them as like real NFL players until the game is on the line. Then you become when it comes tied ball game and the kicker needs to make the field goal to win. That's when we realize how important the kicker is. And I believe everybody needs to have a great kicker in this league, or you're really not going to do a lot. You know what I'm saying? You can't win. It's a lot harder to win a game when you have a kicker who just continuously misses. Ryan Succop honestly has had Pro Bowl numbers this year.
Right.
Ryan Succop, like Jason Sanders, Rodrigo Blankenship, these guys really stepped up this year as kickers, and they really performed very well. Especially, and I know there's one more. I believe it is. Oh, Graham Gano had a very good year.
For the Giants, yeah.
Very good year. And I mean, these kickers, they did absolutely amazing. And so I got to give them a lot of credit. As for Maxx Crosby, I was looking at this. I was like, did they have 2 AFC Defensive Players of the Week? Because they're talking about a defensive end. And then I read it. He had 2 blocked field goals. I was like, oh. And you're absolutely right. I mean, to get 1 blocked field goal in a game, it really is. It really is hard enough. To get 2, it's even harder. But to get 2 as the same player, that is very, very rare.
It is.
And I gotta give him a lot of credit, and especially I gotta give him a lot of credit because he was a very key piece to the Raiders this season as a defensive player. People don't realize how important he was on that defensive line, but special teams, he really made his name this week. So before we get off the players of the week, let me ask you: out of these players of the week, who do you think from each category had the better week?
Offensively is a little tough, man. If I had to say for offensive players, that one's a little tough. Derrick Henry had over 250 rushing yards, was that?
Yes.
Yes. And Kirk threw over 400 yards with 4 TDs. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like my head wants to say Kirk, but my gut wants to say Derrick Henry. I want to go with Derrick Henry on this one. This one's a little tough in my opinion. That one was a little tougher because it's just so close and it's just so good.
Continue.
As for defense, who were the players again?
Defensive players of the week was Darius Leonard with 10 tackles, a sack, 2 passes defended, and a forced fumble, and Leonard Williams, 7 tackles, 3 sacks, and a pass defended.
See, that's the thing. Leonard Williams had 3 tackles and a pass defended, but as for the other guy, he had 10. I mean, he had less sacks, but he also had more passes defended. He had a forced fumble and more tackles, so I'm gonna have to go with him.
I'm gonna go.
You go?
Oh my bad. Yeah, I'll just say this. I'll start with I'll pick my offense and defensive players first since I intervened twice. I'm gonna go Derrick Henry, and the reason why I'm gonna go Derrick Henry is for one reason specifically. Derrick Henry, what was on the line for him, he needed a decent amount of yards, like a very decent amount to get to 2,000 this year. And not only did he do that, he exceeded 2,000.
Yeah, right.
So Derrick Henry did everything and more to get that 2,000-yard season, which is very important on a running back's resume to get a 2,000-yard season. It's very important. And I mean, I just gotta say, Derrick Henry definitely deserves to be player of the week after the performance that he had, and especially how close that game was. He was a big, big key factor, just like Kirk was, because that game was close too. But the difference is Derrick Henry and the Titans had something to fight for, and he fought for it and got it.
Right.
Now, as for defense, I'm gonna go Leonard Williams, and the reason why is because when you look at the Colts game, the Colts won pretty decisively. Giants did not. That was a very close game, and Leonard Williams, without his efforts, the Giants don't win that game. And those 3 sacks, that's why I call home wrecking, because the offensive line is your guard. I look at it. I look at the NFL. If you look at the NFL, it's kind of like war. You got your offensive line, who's basically your defenders. You
Right.
get the quarterback, who's basically like your main leader, your sergeant, and then you got the wide receiver, who are your soldiers, and the tight ends, and obviously like that. In order to get to the sergeant, you need to get through the blockers, get through the defenders, and that's why I call Leonard Williams a home wrecker, is because he went
Right.
through that line and he absolutely tortured the Cowboys that game. And now, for special teamers, you go first. Tell me who you think had a better game for special teamers of the week.
As much as I want to say Maxx Crosby had a better game, I'm gonna have to go with Ryan Succop on this one. Yeah, he had a perfect game. He had a perfect night. Like I said, 500 extra points, made 3 field goals. Yeah, field goals and total of 15 points. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with him on that.
I'll disagree. I'll go Crosby. And the reason why is because I just think getting 2 block field goals is extremely rare in this league. And for one player to do it is absolutely incredible. And at first I was looking at it, I'm like, well, Ryan Succop's got more points. He went perfect. And credit to Ryan Succop because he made all 8 of the kicks that he was supposed to make. And I absolutely and I absolutely agree that he had a big factor in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win. But when you look at a guy who blocks 2 field goals in one game, you can't help but not to look at him and realize, like, wow, 2 block field goals in a game by one player is extremely insane and extremely rare. So because of the rarity of that, I got to go with Maxx Crosby. And before we end this topic, the writer of this topic was obviously the usual writer of the players of the week. That is Grant Gordon, NFL.com digital content editor.